So we have a very, very special guest here with us in the studio, Jeanette Patell. So she is a Canada Government Affairs and Public Policy for YouTube Canada. And the reason for her visit is that we are going to talk about Bill C11 today, which is quite in the news for the last few weeks now. Earlier it was Bill C10, then now government has brought back almost few amendments, and we have now Bill C11. So first of all, we would like to know about this bill and how it's going to impact Canadians, and particularly those people who are creating content and putting on YouTube and other platforms. Jeanette, first of all, welcome to our studio.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
And tell us more about your journey, because every Canadian has his or her own special story to tell. Tell your story.
So I've been with YouTube for about a year now. I've had the pleasure of living all over Canada. I started my career in the Canadian Foreign Service.
Okay.
And so I've lived in Europe. I've lived in the United States. I'm the child of immigrants on my father's side. My father was actually born in India. He's from Calcutta.
Great.
And my mother's from Canada. They met when he was at the University of Waterloo.
Okay.
And so I grew up here in Ontario, but have lived all around Canada and the world. And I'm really proud to be working at YouTube now, helping Canadian creators share their stories with a global audience.
Wonderful. And your elders, I mean your grandfather, they came from India?
That's right. So in 1969, my grandfather and my grandmother with their 4 children moved to Montreal. So from Calcutta to Montreal.
What a journey.
Yes, indeed. And my father was the oldest. He was 17, and he had 3 younger sisters.
Okay.
So he went to university here in Canada, and everyone has really built a life here in Canada.
Great. And would you love to go to Canada and find your roots over there also, somewhere in Calcutta from where your grandfather came?
Absolutely, I do. I haven't had the privilege of going to India yet. It's very, very high on my list.
Okay.
Because I think it's such a beautiful country and so
diverse country like Canada.
That's actually what I was going to say. So diverse geographically and linguistically and the cultures, and it's such a rich country. And
I'm really proud that I have that as part of my own personal heritage, and so really being able to experience it and live it for a little while is one of my goals in life.
Great. Okay. So let's come to Bill C11.
Yeah.
So first of all, you tell us what is Bill C11? Why the government needed to introduce this?
So Bill C11 is an attempt to modernize Canada's broadcasting regime to reflect, the new digital reality. And so the bill was an effort to bring into scope platforms like Netflix or Disney Plus or others who are providing content to Canadians. But in this version of the bill, it also would bring platforms like YouTube or TikTok or Instagram also under the authority of the Canadian broadcasting regulator, the CRTC.
Okay. So how it's going to impact first of all, the content creators like us who are not big companies, and later on, what kind of suggestions YouTube has for the government to of course, government is quite, persistent to do this, but you are giving, YouTube and other platforms are asking government to make few amendments. Why are you asking for that? Tell us more.
Right. So I think, on YouTube, we think about 2 communities as our primary communities, our user community and our creator community. And the 2 are really interconnected.
Yeah.
Because, let's talk first. I know you want to talk about creators, but let's talk about users first. Because I think many of your listeners and those people watching, they're users of YouTube.
Yeah.
And, for everyone who comes to YouTube, I think we're all pretty unique in the type of content we like to watch. We're all very diverse, and I think viewing habits in Canada are as diverse as the population. And today, when you come to YouTube, it's kind of in the name. YouTube is about you. And it's a reflection of your personal interests and your tastes. And our job is to be able to surface content for you that is responsive to your own like individual needs. And we want to serve every user at the same high standard, no matter where they are in the world, no matter where they come from, what their background is. We want to give them the same quality of experience. And creators count on us to do this right.
Okay.
Right? So, so when we look at, what this means for creators, right now I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think what would end up happening under this bill is that instead of users having an experience that's reflective of their priorities, what Bill C11 does is it would require YouTube and other platforms to prioritize the content that the regulator says we have to prioritize. Okay. So instead of users being in the driver's seat, when they come to the homepage, what they might see is probably would be more of a reflection of what the regulator has required from us. And so what does that mean for creators? It actually means that they might take a back seat to large media companies, to Canadian broadcasters that would have a better, more privileged treatment on the platform, and users would have a harder time finding the creators that they love and the content that they love. And so, to your point about what is YouTube recommending, we think that there's actually a workable path here that, this isn't, the government didn't set out intending to hurt content creators or to harm the user experience on these platforms. I think they have good intentions, but the language of the bill needs to have a little bit more precision and clarity. So it's really clear that the content that users upload to YouTube is not in scope, is clearly carved out, and that the user experience is protected.
Okay. And there is a demand for the last few years that platforms like YouTube or Netflix or others, they must create some local Canadian content also. Of course, they are getting revenue from Canada, so they have some obligations or responsibilities toward that. What do you have to say?
I think that, contributing to the Canadian cultural ecosystem is something that we're really proud to do and proud to be playing an important role in. And that is, we have no objections to doing, continuing what we're doing and doing more. We want the Canadian creative ecosystem to thrive because I think, you're on YouTube, you know how it works. YouTube only succeeds when creators succeed. We have, a world-leading revenue sharing model on YouTube where creators earn the majority of the ad revenue that on the platform. We get the minority share. So if creators, if their revenue is hurt, so is ours, right? So we really want to do everything we can to create an environment where Canadian creators are able to thrive. They are able to, build sustainable businesses. And I'm so proud of, people like you who take risks, who are entrepreneurs, and they build businesses with a dream. And it's so incredible to me that on YouTube, if you have a story you want to share, you can, take your phone, an internet connection, and you can share your story with the world. And what we see is that can resonate. And people can build communities on YouTube and that they can build businesses on YouTube. And we really want to do everything we can to keep giving Canadian creators the tools that they need to succeed. And it's such an amazing thing. Like, we are seeing that success. So last year, for example, in 2021, Canadian channels earning over six figures, so earning over $100,000 in the year, grew by over 35%.
Whoa.
Right? So 35% growth year over year. So Canadian creators are thriving in this environment. They are exporting, they're some of the top exporters of their content in the world on YouTube. And they're getting over 90% of their audience is international. Right? That means that their revenues, their revenues are also coming from those international audiences. This is our export revenues coming into Canada, right? And so, we are thrilled to be playing a role in this, to be a vehicle for this, and we want to continue to do what we can to be investing in that ecosystem and supporting it. But what we want to avoid, so, really, it's not about the money. It's about what we want to ensure is that, the ecosystem that we've built and that creators are thriving on remains intact, and that we don't, break this important connection between what users want to see and how creators are being, shown to the world.
Okay. In last few years, we have seen new terminologies coming up. YouTubers, people are now celebrities working on YouTube, putting their content. And as Jeanette has rightly said, that people, if they have only phone in their hand, they can create content which can bring them a revenue of hundreds and thousands of dollars. It's a great platform for many of the people who could never dream of to sell their content, and YouTube has given them this platform, this opportunity. Of course, YouTube has brought revolution in the world of content making, encouraged many people, and we have seen people becoming celebrities now using YouTube's platform.
So for example, Lily Singh.
Yeah.
Right? So Lily Singh started out in Scarborough, in her basement, doing sketches of where, she played all of the characters. Yeah. I hope that you all know and love her.
Yes, wonderful.
And she wrote actually an op-ed about this piece of legislation the other year. So actually when it was called C10. And one of the things that she said is that, when you don't fit the mainstream mold, especially in mainstream media, a platform like YouTube, it gives you this window, this opportunity to build and to create your niche, to carve out your niche in an audience of billions. And one of the things that YouTube provides is free access to a global audience of over 2 billion monthly users. And that's just something that's so powerful because it creates this opportunity. Maybe your content is pretty niche. Maybe it's not something that, there's enough people in your local community or in your country to really who really care about it or are going to be enthusiastic about it.
We are a global community now.
That's right. And so when you get that, you can access this pool of people who, you have enough scale to build a business on.
Wonderful. And of course, the Government of Canada is trying to protect the interest of its people. They want that all those platforms who are, working in Canada, they have some liabilities or some responsibilities, and they should take that into care. There is a big pressure on Government of Canada, but at the same time, I believe there must some kind of a system where YouTube or platforms like YouTube and government, they can come close to find out the right solution for that.
Absolutely. And I think it's very achievable, right? And I think because we know that the government
sees this ecosystem as something new and promising, and I think they don't necessarily want to hurt it. But you also have to understand the difference between, the approaches that worked for mainstream, for linear broadcasting, our traditional broadcasting, and then how those approaches might actually backfire on a system like YouTube. And creators have been very engaged. Creators have kind of shared their perspectives with the government. We're in the middle of Senate hearings on this, which is why it's in the news. And creators testified about these issues and about what's important for them in order to succeed and what their concerns are. And I think that, I'm really hopeful that the government, will take those concerns into account and can find, some pretty modest ways to adjust this language to respond to those concerns.
Okay, so Bill C11 is in the news, as we said in the beginning. There is a debate going on in the country that how these kind of people who create content, how their content should be placed on platforms like YouTube. But at the same time, YouTube is saying that people like you who wants to watch that content, they should also have some kind of saying in this matter, what they want to see, what they want to watch. So I believe there should be some common grounds where platforms like YouTube and the government of Canada, they can come closer at the same time watching interest of people who want to watch the content on YouTube, and at the same time who wants to publicize, broadcast their content on YouTube. So I'm sure, I mean, as a representative of YouTube and their public policy and government affairs, I mean, representative of your company, of course you must be conveying the message of your company, and we will keep talking to the federal ministers whosoever come here, and we will definitely bring to their notice this issue whenever they come here on our platform also.
Wonderful.
So, thank you so much for coming, Jeanette.
Oh, thank you.
It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure to speak
You
with
have
you.
any message for our audience before you go?
Well, thank you for coming and listening to us talk today, and I hope that you are watching this on YouTube. If you are interested in sharing your views on something like Bill C11, there is a petition that's going around by an organization called Open Media, and they're a civil society organization who focuses on internet policy. But it's really been a pleasure to speak with you today, to learn about this incredible business that you have built, and the such a vibrant community that we have here, and that we're so pleased to have here in Canada. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And platforms like YouTube have given us also an opportunity to bring our content or to reach out to maximum audience globally now.
Absolutely.
Instead of within Canada. So thank you for that also.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.